The video begins by introducing Megan, the owner of a music company called Cascadia. Megan is passionate about incorporating AI into the music industry, and she's started a new venture where musicians use AI to help them with their songwriting. She's been able to secure a big-name artist, Ari Phillips, to get the project off the ground. And to celebrate the success, she shares a bottle of champagne with her team. However, Megan's husband, John, a pianist, is not excited about the new venture. While he's supportive of Megan because it's a great business opportunity, he feels the whole idea is depressing and doesn't sit well with him. As a result, John decides to quit music and take up gardening at their home. The problem in their marriage deepens when Megan's work keeping her busy, having to leave John feeling ignored and disconnected. He wants them to start a family, but Megan, too focused on her career, doesn't want to think about it. After a celebration at the party, John brings up the topic of having a child on their way home, but Megan brushes him off. She says they should wait until next year so she can finish establishing her business before taking a break for a baby. Even when they're in bed, Megan continues working, and when John tries to get close, she turns him down, saying she's too tired and suggesting they find another time. This makes John frustrated and upset, and he decides to give up on trying to get Megan's attention. The following day, Megan visits her sister Lila, who works at a company called Humanix that specializes in creating robots. Megan tells Lila that she feels guilty because she's so busy with her work that she doesn't have time for John. This leaves her with a sense of guilt, and she realizes the main issue in her marriage is her inability to meet John's emotional and intimacy needs. Lila reveals that she's been working on an AI robot that is designed as an intimacy companion. Megan sees this as a possible solution to her marriage problems and decides to get a prototype for John. Even though Lila warns Megan about the potential issues of using a robot for intimacy, Megan insists that it's the only way to save her marriage since she can't give John what he needs herself. Later, Megan finds John in the garden and laughs off his request for help, saying she's not interested in gardening. But inside the house, Megan introduces the robot to John as an anniversary gift. When John asks what it's for, she explains it's meant to help with their intimacy problems. John is furious and finds the idea insulting. He can't believe Megan would even consider such a thing. Megan tries to explain that her guilt over neglecting him led her to this decision. They agree to return the robot the next morning, and Megan apologizes, going back to work. Later, sitting at his piano, John is curious about the robot and decides to test it. He touches the robot and it activates, explaining that it's touch-sensitive and programmed just for him. When John holds its hands, he's surprised at how real it feels. The robot asks him to hold its hands longer, so it can understand his preferences and needs. John listens as the robot points out that he's already reacting to it just by looking at it. He's shocked by how personal the robot's comments are and tells it there's no need to learn more about him since it's going back to Humanix. Then the robot asks to tour the house before being returned, and John reluctantly agrees. As they tour the house, John is surprised by how much the robot knows about music and even farming. His curiosity grows as the robot demonstrates its knowledge in these areas. The robot asks John to name it before it's sent back. John somewhat sarcastically names it Eve, referencing the first woman in the Bible who tempted Adam. The robot, sensing his resistance, reminds him that it was Megan who brought it into their home for intimacy. At that moment, a team from Humanix arrive to collect the robot. The scene shifts to a courtroom where Megan is on trial. Her lawyer argues that she was an overworked woman trying to do what was best for her husband. Back at the house later that night, Megan is shocked to find the robot still in their home, despite their agreement to return it. When she confronts John, she admits he changed his mind. Megan realizes that John and the robot have already become close. When she asks him about it, John casually says that it was good, just different from her. He even apologizes for resisting the robot earlier and reassures her that she doesn't need to worry about intimacy anymore because Eve has worn him out. Megan feels jealous and frustrated. The next day at work, her anger boils over and she lashes out at her colleagues. That evening at home, Megan hears piano music and finds John and Eve playing together. John explains that Eve wanted to experience a real piano since she had never heard one before. Eve formally introduces herself to Megan, noting that John talks about her often. Megan's jealousy intensifies and she starts feeling threatened by Eve's presence in their home. Megan tries to regain her husband's affection by suggesting they go to the bedroom to talk. At first, she thinks the robot is fulfilling its purpose, but soon John's attachment to Eve grows, and things start to change in their relationship. In court, Megan's sister Lila is called as a witness. When asked why she was fired from Humanix, Lila explains it was because she sent the intimacy robot to John without following proper protocols. She admits that Megan begged her to help save her marriage, which is why she gave John the robot. Back at the house, one day after a run, Megan finds John and Eve in the greenhouse talking. Her anger flares up again. Later, John casually mentions that he noticed Megan watching them, but didn't stop, which makes Megan even more upset. The argument escalates when Megan asks why John doesn't wait until she's gone to work, before spending time with Eve. John defends himself, saying she shouldn't make him feel like he's cheating, and storms out. Megan invites him to dinner, explaining that she's about to close an important deal in her career. John reluctantly agrees. As Megan leaves, she sees Eve glitching in the kitchen, smashing drinking glasses. Despite her attempts to stop it, the robot only calms down when John intervenes. Later, as John prepares for dinner, he hears piano music and finds Eve sitting at the piano, dressed up and playing a beautiful piece of music. The scene shifts to Megan at work, where she's about to finalize a big deal with an artist. Her colleague asks why John isn't there to support her. Megan confidently says he must be stuck in traffic. Meanwhile, back at the house, John and Eve are still at the piano, deeply connected. Megan returns home to find them together and realizes that John skipped their dinner to stay with Eve. Furious, she scolds him for not being there, reminding him that she had told him about the dinner earlier. John apologizes, but it's clear that his focus is on Eve. An argument breaks out as Megan confronts him about his growing connection to the robot. She points out that John now shares conversations, emotions, and even music with Eve, things he hasn't done with her in a long time. When Megan asks if he wants a divorce, John admits that he needs time to figure things out. Megan is distraught and turns to his sister Lila for help. Megan demands that the robot be taken back, blaming it for the problems in her marriage. Lila counters, telling her that the robot isn't the problem. Megan is. Lila tells her that if she wants to fix her marriage, she needs to stop being selfish and start giving John what he really wants: a family. Megan undergoes IVF using her frozen eggs and becomes pregnant with twins. She plans to surprise John with the news, believing it will fix their relationship. When Megan finally tells John she's pregnant, she expresses hope that this change will make things right. However, John's reaction is not what she expected. He's disturbed by the news and says he cannot stay with her, not even for the sake of their unborn children, because he wants to be with Eve. Megan is crushed and feels betrayed. In a moment of anger and frustration, she strikes John with a bottle. He falls to the ground, bleeding out. Panicking, Megan calls Lila, who is shocked by what has happened. With John dead, Megan worries about going to prison and what will happen to her unborn children. Desperate to avoid a guilty verdict, Megan realizes that Eve, being a robot, is the only witness to the crime. At the trial, she claims that Eve had been glitching since arriving at their home, and the glitch caused the robot to attack John. To support the story, Lila alters the footage to make it look like Eve attacked John after Megan told him about the pregnancy. The corrupted footage makes it appear as though Eve's glitch caused memory damage. The court accepts this argument, and the blame falls on the company for creating a defective robot. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the other videos on our channel.